Happy New Year from us on the Bobcast Sports Network and from Frostburg State University. It is our first edition of the decade of the Bobcast, and today it is an all exclusive basketball Bobcast. We'll talk about the men's and women's basketball teams, both coming off of big wins on Saturday. But first, for the men, now sitting down with head coach Sean Brown. The big story is three-game win streak after victories to close out the year against Concord and District of Columbia, and a big win on Saturday against Cheney. Coach, what were your overall takeaways?
Well, starting with the UDC game, we had a lot of folks contribute. It was great to see a lot of family, a lot of friends, a lot of alumni. Um, you know, um, it just is a great atmosphere to be in, playing down in DC, and that's where a lot of our kids come from, that DMV area. So to have them play in front of their families was awesome.
For sure. And after the three straight games of giving up 100 plus points, the defense has really picked it up. In the three-game win streak, have allowed just 67 points per game. What's been the biggest difference from the beginning of last month to now?
Well, we kind of, as we've been saying, we had things to figure out. We knew it was going to be a process. Um, we would have liked to win some of those games early that we dropped. Some of those close games, a lot of them we had, really large leads. 7 to 10 point leads, in the second half that we didn't hold on to them. We had to learn how to win. We had to learn how to play position basketball, and everyone had to learn their responsibilities, trust the system, trust what the coaches were selling, and just really hone in on our individual responsibilities before we could go and help someone else, help other teammates. So defensively, we've really focused on a few things. Keeping your guy in front of you, contesting every shot, holding the one shots. What we still hadn't gotten good at. We're still giving up a ton of offensive rebounds, but that's a work in progress. But now once we give up that offensive rebound, we got to give a awesome second effort, and I think we've been doing that. As far as these last two games, UDC and Cheney, our guys have just been locked in and playing well. I'm not sure where we turned the corner, but I feel like we got more guys buying in more and more every day, and guys are trusting us, and guys are believing in what we're doing. But defensively, we kind of just focused on two or three things at practice, and we've those have been a staple every day, every single day. Those are things that we're trying to get across to our guys, and defense is important. It's the most important part of the game, and that's what we need to clean up. And I think good defense turns into a good offense.
And that defense played undoubtedly its strongest game in terms of the scoring against Concord. And in that game, we saw the emergence of some newer players that have contributed a lot. Joe Adedayo led the team in scoring with 13 points. Jamil Jones has started to be on the upswing. He scored the go-ahead basket, scored 8 points in a couple of games, and we'll get to those performances later. But how critical is it for your team to be able to get big-time minutes from some newer faces such as Adedayo and Jones?
Well, that's huge. Every night we're expecting someone new to step up. Someone has to help Daniel out. And we evaluated after game 6, and as a coaching staff, we were all on the same page. Daniel needs help. Guys can't just look for Daniel to make plays. We know he's our guy, and everyone else knows he's our guy. So what's everyone else going to do? Are we just going to watch Daniel play basketball and stand around, or is someone going to step up and make plays? Someone going to step up and help Daniel? Who wants to be the next guy? It's not all about letting one guy go to work and everybody watching and you kind of get in where you fit in. No, we got to play basketball. Basketball is a game where guys have got to get touches. folks have got to move. That ball has kinetic energy. Everyone has to feel the ball. Everyone has to feel confident when they're out there. No offense to what the Rockets do, but it's tough to play that style of basketball and win at a high level when guys aren't touching the ball, when guys aren't feeling the ball, when folks don't feel empowered to shoot the ball. It's just tough. So we're challenging guys to step up, and Daniel's not a selfish guy. In fact, he don't he's too unselfish for me. If I had his skill set and I was a player of his ilk, there's no way a coach would have to keep telling me attack and shoot, but that's his in his nature. He's an unselfish ball player. He's not going to force. He's reluctant to force anything, and he's letting the game come to him, um, and everyone else is kind of stepping up. Jamil, we've talked to Jamil, man, 3 times over the last week or so. I mean, over the last month, he's really stepped his game up. He's took his game to another level. I'm kind of just watching and enjoying and admiring it because two of my assistants have, for probably 8 months now, have been telling me, watch, Jamil is, he's the real deal. Just kind of just watch. And we knew the skill set was there. I watched him in high school. Obviously, he dominated the high school game, but he had issues his first year, really, kind of turning the corner. It felt like he was halfway in, halfway out. But man, over the last 3 or 4 weeks, he has been, he's been a man. He's been, I think, clearly our most improved player and clearly our best point guard. Now we just gotta, kind of wait and see, and hope he carries it over. Um, and if he does, we should do well.
For sure. And against District of Columbia now, game was a back and forth affair. Despite getting out rebounded on the glass, you found different ways to win, especially in the second half. When did it seem to click for the rest of the team that you guys were going to be able to put away a tough UDC team?
Well, when we started we turned up the pressure on them, and we kind of got them sped up, and they made shots, we made shots. Then we changed defense on them. We started switching up on them, and we kind of confused them. We confused them, and they didn't quite know what we were doing. Um, all we did was we threw a little matchup zone at them. So they still thought we were in man to man. The whole time we in zone. So when we did that, I think we kind of affected with everything they were doing. We threw a monkey wrench in their plans because they got really comfortable there for a couple of minutes in the second half, and we were like, wow, they caught us off guard. And then defensively, they turned up the heat on us, and we couldn't, we had to call a timeout and regroup. But our guys knew we had them once. I think there was 3 straight times we stopped them, and we scored those 3 straight times. And I think that was the turning point of the game. That's when I think we put kind of the nail in the coffin, so to say.
Now looking at Saturday's win against Cheney, 96-64, especially for a 32-point win, there was a lot to unpack from Saturday's game.
Yes.
Firstly, the elephant in the room, Daniel Alexander, he continued to build upon his incredible senior season, and he played arguably his best game as a Bobcat. He scored 36 points, a career high, and not to mention he scored 20-plus points in more than half of the games this year, 7 of the 12 this season that you guys have played. Where has all of this scoring, this production from Alexander come from?
Well, he has the confidence to go out and do this against anyone, especially him being a senior and him putting in so much work over the last 2 years. He's just kind of put the team on his back, and he's made the commitment and made the decision that he's going to carry us this year. Again, he's put in a ton of work over the last 2 years, and now it's showing. This is really the first time kind of in his life where he's the guy, and he's really embracing it. He didn't know how to handle it early on, but we're kind of nurturing him through this process, and he's really starting to take on a big time leadership role. He's learning how to lead by example. Well, he's always led by example. Now he's learning how to be vocal. It's we get tickled pink when we see him pulling guys aside and really coaching them up, showing them where to be, walking them through footwork things. How to spin in the lane, how to he's talking to post players on how they should post up, guards, where the certain screen should be set. Where the ball should be. Where they should catch the ball at in certain positions. We love that. That's leadership at its core. And Daniel's been a consummate leader. His grades have gone up over the last 2 years. Last semester he had a 3.75. This past semester, I'm sure he don't mind me disclosing, he had a 3.4. And he still told me, Coach, I know I could do better. That just Oh man, it kind of bring a tear to your eye when you hear kids say that. I challenged him when I came in. You've been a 2.6, 2.7, 2.8, pretty much your whole career. And you're not even trying hard. Why can't you be a 3.5? Why can't you be a 4.0? And he took that challenge and he's accepted that challenge, and he's getting it done on and off the floor. It's so much I could say about Daniel. There's not enough time. I'm just so proud of that kid.
For sure. Glad to see him doing better than years past, especially in the classroom and on the court as well.
Absolutely.
Now, we saw some new faces that got a lot of playing time. And speaking of new faces, well, for this season it's new, but it's a familiar face that we hadn't seen yet this year. Jordan Dawson, he got his way into the lineup, made the trip to DC, and I know you said that you were hoping that he was going to be able to play, and he got his chance against Cheney, his first minutes since last season. What does Dawson's ability bring to the table?
Well, he's a live body. He has the ability to rebound. He can score inside. He can put the ball on the floor and make plays from the wing position. He's kind of that guy that we've been missing all year, who could do it all. He could play in the post. He can play on the wing. He can handle the ball a little bit. He can defend the guard. He can defend the post. He's that guy, and he's going to bring a lot of energy, a lot of passion to the game. 50-50 balls. Most of the time, they're his. He's getting on those. So he brings a lot to the table. And Jordan's he's a veteran. He's been through a bunch of wars, from Division 3 to JUCO to back to Division 3, now Division 2. He's played in some high level competition in high school, high level summer leagues, all over the DMV. So he's seen every situation. He's we're ecstatic to have him back. He's a great guy. Also a leader of one of the leaders of our team. Guys look up to him and respect him, which so does the coaching staff. And we're ecstatic to have him back, and we're so happy that he's going to be able to have a senior night because he deserves it.
For sure. And some other new faces that have been on the team but have gotten their first minutes or significant minutes against Cheney. You had Tyler Roadheaver scoring in double figures. Desmond Renee got his first collegiate start. J.R. Kerr provided a boost in the paint in his first game back from an injury. That's just to name a couple of those new faces. How did they do you think, in their first test against Cheney on Saturday?
Well, I think they were rusty. All three were rusty. They were anxious though. Those guys, they wanted to play well. Everybody wanted to go out and play well. But I think between the guys you named, they probably went 5 for 20 from the field. But those guys played really hard, played really good defense, and they left it all out there on the line. J.R. Kerr, we were looking for him to be a really big part of our basketball team, but he got injured right before the first game. Maybe 4 days before the first game. He was out with a sports hernia, and he's just coming back. And We had Tyler Roheaver. He broke his foot the second week of fall training, and he's just getting back. So it's it's tough. And Renee's got his first start as you mentioned, and now he's out with a wrist injury. So it's tough. Guys shuffling in and out of the lineup, but we want to get those guys want them to get their feet wet. Kerr will be playing a lot down the stretches. As we work him back, we're going to work him back slowly, but we expect him to play a ton down the stretch, and we might need Roadheaver, to give us some minutes off the bench down the stretch. So we got to play these guys. We got to see what they can do in live minutes, and not just minutes at the end of the game. Minutes that really counts. Roadheaver did. I think he ended up scoring in double figures. That's what he does. He lit it up in high school. He filled it up in high school. Led his team to a state championship game last year, where they lost to a great Lake Clifton team who's won like three state championships in a row. So that's a tough ask. But Roadheaver led his team to a state championship last year. Was player of the year in the county the year prior. So he's a player. This is what he does. This is what we expecting of him. I know he's just coming back, but we expect him to play well.
Looking at Kerr, I know we mentioned off the air that you think that he's one of the better presences that your team has had, especially in the paint.
Yes.
How do you think that, knowing that he's back from this injury and you're going to be working his way into more significant minutes as the rest of the schedule dwindles down? What do you think he'll add to the table?
Well, He'll definitely add. He'll add some size because we're going to play him at some 2 and 3 also. He'll add some basketball IQ. He's a he's a glue guy because he's thinking the game all the time. He's always thinking the game, and it's hard to guard him out there because you never know what he's going to do. He's so smart. If we can get him to shoot more, that would be awesome. But he'll add some much needed basketball IQ and um, just a veteran presence out there. As I told you, as you said off air, I told you he's one of the true Division two players that we have on the team that we feel is Division two ready right now, right away. So he'll add he'll add some much needed veteran presence out there on the court. I mean, his basketball IQ is just off the chart. Uh, Lord knows, I wish we had him for 4 years.
For sure. And now looking ahead to Notre Dame on Wednesday, Urbana on Saturday. Notre Dame having not that great of a year after winning the MEC championship last year, thanks to some graduates, the best player in the conference last season, no longer with them. Even though this year Notre Dame has taken the last four conference teams down to the wire. What impresses you about them, and what will be the key to keep this three-game win streak going?
Well, just as you said, Notre Dame has taken the last four teams down to the wire. Um, all of their stats are even across the board. If you look at their stats and opponent stats, they're playing. You can't tell who won the game. They're playing everybody fairly even. At this point, they're a lot like us. I think I like to say that you know it's just about learning how to win. Making winning plays, and when it's time to make those winning plays. They're a good team. They're a really good team. Obviously, they're battle tested. They've been there before. I know they lost a few guys because of transfers, and they graduated. One of the best players in the country. Um, but those guys are scrappy and they play hard. They got three kids that's really filling it up. A fourth kid who's been out of the lineup last couple of games, but if you add him, they got four kids filling it up. So they're going to be a tough out. We're but as I always say, we're expecting to come in and play well and win this game. Um, we feel like we have some advantages in some areas. So do they, obviously, but we feel like we have some advantages in some areas, and we're going to explore those advantages. And hopefully we'll come out on top. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be back and forth. We'll have runs. They'll have runs. Let's just hope we have more runs than they have.
And finally, if you win Wednesday, the winning streak will be extended to four, and it'll be the first four-game winning streak since 2014.
Oh wow.
How do you think that this team has improved since the beginning of the season?
Man, I think these guys are. I think these guys are more focused and more together. These guys are buying in, man. Like nobody believed that we were out of it. Even when we hit that bad stretch and we were one in whatever. Nobody thought we were out of it. The coaching staff, we were frustrated, just like the players, and losing builds frustration. But we all we all brushed it off. 24-hour rule. We have a 24-hour rule. We shake it off and we move on. Coach Brown comes to practice pissed off no matter if we win or lose. Sometimes we lose and I come to practice in a cheery mood. There's other times we win. We were on 3-game winning streak, and this morning we come in and I'm blasting guys because they don't have on the proper attire. Um, I know it's shoot around, but those are the little things. We're trying to turn this program around. The little things, and if two guys, again, I know it's shoot around, but if two guys don't have on the proper attire, and the other 13 does, what's that saying? Are you trying to stand out above the rest? Just clue me in so I can understand what's going on. So no, the win streak is nice. But we're hungry. We want to win four. We want to get to four in a row. These guys have really bought in, and these guys are really focused. Shoot around was incredible this morning. We're gonna come right back and have a great practice this afternoon, I feel, and then weight training right after that. These guys are motivated. They're hungry. They want to put in more work. They want to put in extra work, and I think it's translating to the games.
Anything else you want to add, Coach?
No, I just want to thank, again, thank everyone for their continued support. We have a ton of support. Hadn't played a true home game yet. We think, we think our chances go up and our winning percentage will go up even, more when we start to get some of these home games. But as far as right now, we're playing these road games and we're going to play them all like they're home games, and expect to win them all. Um, we call ourselves the Road Warriors this year, and then the name, I think it fits. And we also, kind of took on that, we took on that personality as, Road Warriors, us against the world. And I think our guys, are starting to fit. Our guys are really starting to, hold on to that. Our administrators have been real patient with us, and it's starting to pay off. I want to thank Dr. Nowajic and Mr. Dell and Coach Stevenson for really, really, really supporting myself and the program, and coming to the games and showing up to the games and showing support. Speaking to our players, speaking to recruits. They just they're doing so much to help our program out, and we are going to get this turned around and head in the right direction. And with the support of our with my supervisor and our support staff, I think we'll get there sooner than later.
All right, Coach. Thank you for your time and Happy New Year.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Back for the second half of the Bobcast, first Bobcast of the new year. And we're talking with women's basketball head coach Carrie Saunders. Just like the men, we have a lot to catch up with from the last time we spoke. Before the break, losses to Glenville State and Concord, but on Saturday, coming off of a big win against Salem. Coach, what were your takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, I think heading into the break, having Glenville and Concord back to back is not an easy way to enter this conference. But what I'm proud of our team and our roster is that it didn't deflate us whatsoever. We headed into a break, enjoyed our break, and then we came back and we had probably the best week of practices that we've had all season to lead into this game on Saturday, and that's exactly what you want coming out of a break like that, heading into the new year. And we talked about heading into the new year and that our goals are still very obtainable, even though what happened leading into the break, and having even looking back, Charleston, Glenville, Concord, back to back to back. it didn't really deflate us, and that's what I'm proud. And then we come out with a big win on Saturday to start the new year. You can't ask for a better way to start the new year than a win.
Going back to that 3 game stretch, what did you learn about your team?
I think I learned a lot because, it gave us the opportunity to go really deep in the bench, and kind of get everybody a feel for this D2 level, from top to bottom of our roster. And I think that benefited us because it made us kind of trust in every single one of our players on the bench. And so I think from the team, I think they learned about a lot about each other, and the coaching staff learned a lot about them as well. Just as far as, no matter what the score is, we had kids that were coming off the bench that were giving it their all, and that's all I can ask for. And I think it gave them good game experience for when we, are in closer games, or when we're competing again the next time around. They have their feet wet a little bit. And so, yeah, I mean, we learned a lot, and we had a ton of injuries as well. We had about 3 or 4 kids sitting out, heading into break, and kids that play. It's not just, everyone kind of plays on our team as of now, or everyone has a role. So, yeah, I mean, we learned a ton, heading into break, and we kind of just hit the reset button and went in, came back after break with a clear mindset.
Now, going back to the Concord game, your team showed a lot of fight after coming off of that loss to Glenville. Defensively,
Mm-hmm.
Didn't come up with a win, but still
Mm-hmm.
held Concord to a respectable number.
Mm-hmm.
How can you translate that fight that your team showed into the rest of conference play?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that. I mean, what lost us that game is the third quarter. You take the third quarter out of that Concord game, and we lose by 10, and we're totally in that game. And even though the score it was a little lopsided, I don't think we ever felt like we were truly out of that game, because we felt like we could compete with them. And so, that's a really great thing to come out of that game with, is that, they're a top 3 team in the Mountain East, and we felt like we could have competed with them, and we kind of did, a little bit. So that's a huge thing that we took from that game. It didn't go our way, but we sure did learn a lot about ourselves that game.
And going back to Saturday against Salem, offensively there were lots of success, especially in the first half. And in the third quarter, it was the defense that
Mm-hmm.
began to step up and kind of sealed the deal for you guys coming out with that victory against the Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
What was the message to the team at halftime in what was shaping up to be a high-scoring game?
Yeah, we talked about halftime. I was a little upset going into halftime about the way that we closed the half. I thought we kind of made some really big mistakes on the offensive side and the defensive side of the floor, coming out of timeouts and not really listening to what was being said in the timeouts and executing, and then defensively, just not rotating and just standing around. And so kind of got on them a little bit in the beginning of halftime, and then we kind of switched gears and talked about, this isn't a game where you run sets. It's kind of taking your opportunities when you can get them to go score, but it's also knowing how many times you take those opportunities and miss, and then do you need to pull out and try and run a set or something like that. And then is also we preach that, we've got to win the glass, we've got to limit our turnovers, and then we have to also win the third quarter. The third quarter, I said, we have a history of not coming out of halftime and being ready to play. We've got to be ready to play, and that's exactly how we came out of half. So I was really, really excited about that third quarter.
The rebounding battle, you guys won 56-38 in that game against Salem, and a big reason was Amanda Emery.
Mm-hmm.
She had perhaps her best game as a Bobcat with 28 points, 21 rebounds. Her 21 boards are the most by a Bobcat in a single game since 2001. Talk about her progression.
Ugh, I don't know if we have enough time to talk about her progression. She's just such a hard worker. She's been just an absolute monster for us since her freshman year, really. But the thing that we've preached to her, especially in practice this year, is you can't be one-dimensional. Or this week in practice, Coach B, our assistant, has really gotten on her about going left. And I think the day before the game, I turned to Coach B and I said, she's gone left about 3 or 4 times in a row. And that's just a matter of her taking what we need her. Like, we know that she can go right. She's got to be able to work left. And then for her to be able to rebound like that against, kids that are 6'2" is just crazy. And, she played, 39 minutes as well. So she's an unbelievable player. She's the type of player that it doesn't, if she had a game like that or didn't have a game like that, she doesn't care as long as we win. Because even when I came into post game and I read her numbers and she said I had no idea, she's not a kid that keeps track of that stuff in her head. She just wants to win. She wants to compete. She wants to be out there. And no matter what she's doing, if she's boxing out so others can get rebounds, that's the type of kid that she is. But she means so much to us as a program. Not only her senior year, but all throughout her career here. And for her to be able to have a game like that, is really really special because she is a special one.
Now, your team is, you've spoken to us about how you preach and practice defense every day. Since December, the defense, after at one point leading the MEC in defense, they haven't had the same numbers.
Hmm.
How can the defense get back to where it was playing in the beginning of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that is we hit MEC, and we also hit the top three teams who score the most, probably the most in D2 as well, not just in the MEC. They go play PSAC teams and they're putting up those same numbers. So it's really hard to slow those types of teams down, which is obviously going to bring that defensive percentage number down. But no matter what goes on with statistics or anything like that, we just preach that we've got to be able to defend day in and day out. And we work on it in practice every single day, pretty much, whether it's our defense as a whole or a part. We've got our hand in. Last week we had an entire defensive practice. We didn't do anything offensively. So we've just got to continue to stay true to us in what we want to do, but also still try and throw in some wrinkles to catch some teams off guard. But we've got to be able to execute those things that we want because our half-court man-to-man defense is really good. We've just got to be able to throw some other things at them and still be able to withstand our true, defense. So it's just something that we need to continue to work on, and we'll never stop working on defense, I can tell you that.
Something that's been impressive from bell to bell has been the first-year players.
Hmm.
You've recently, Sierra Thomas has found her way in the starting role.
Hmm.
Ariana Briggs Hall and Anaya Allen have contributed in a myriad of ways, and Caitlin Rogers has stepped up in the last couple of games. What impresses you the most about this class?
Yeah, I think a lot of them is they're fearless. When we recruited a lot of them, they understood what was coming to them, being a first year in the MEC, and CC being able to step into a starting lineup as a freshman. And even yesterday or Saturday in the game, there was a lot of teachable moments for her, and that's what I constantly want, is for her to just be able to be coachable through all of these moments, and for all of them. Ari's made a huge progression for us and has really stepped into a role that we need, because she's kind of a player that we can throw anywhere because she has ball handling skills, but then she's also one of the strongest kids that we have on our team. Yeah, all of them. KK comes off the bench with a bunch of fire as well. So we're excited to have them. I think the future is bright for them as long as they keep working and, they remain coachable. So, yeah, definitely receiving some positive things from that class.
And not to mention, too, not a first year, but Kayla Wilson just coming back from that injury. And she played some significant minutes against Salem. Talk about what it means to have her back in the lineup.
Oh, it's huge. I thought she played a really, really good game on Saturday for being the first game that she's played in over a month, probably more than that. And even so, she's only been in practice for this week, true practice. So for her to come out and have a game like that was great. And that was what Saturday was about for her, was just to get in, get some good minutes, get the feel back for the game, not try and do too much. And that's exactly what she did. And so, yeah, it's huge to have her back because it brings a whole new dimension to how we rotate and how we play our kids. And then, having Grace back because she was sick forever, and she played a really good game for us. She does stuff that doesn't show up in the stat line. And even Anna had her tooth knocked out, before break, and she's already back playing with a mouth guard in. So, yeah, we finally have almost our entire roster back. We're waiting on one more, Sydney, and once we get her, hopefully it's smooth sailing from there.
For sure, especially with Amanda Emery in the paint. She's kind of captained that paint for for the first half of the year, and
Mhm.
now with Sydney Stotler coming back
Mhm.
soon, what's the expectation in the paint?
Yeah, I think it's going to change everything again. They have a ton of chemistry together. We've got to figure out, we play them together or do we, separate them? There's going to be times for both, definitely. And it's a matter of Sid also getting the feel back for the game because it's not D3 anymore, it's D2. So she's also got to play some catch up. But yeah, it's just taking it one day at a time and making the best of the last games that Sydney can play in for her career as well, to make sure that I think she's ready. We're waiting on a few more things before we get the full green light to put her into a game. And we'll just take it day by day and see how they progress. And but I Sydney's a gamer, so we can't wait to have her back out there, to help Amanda out in the paint, especially when we go up against teams that have multiple bigs as well.
Even though it wasn't a quote unquote true home game,
Mhm.
you guys still played your first home game since November 23rd,
Mhm.
and Wednesday will be the last game playing at Allegheny College before again going on the road yet
Mhm.
again. How nice was it to play on Saturday a home game in front of the Frostburg faithful?
It was fantastic. We haven't had more than probably one familiar face in the bleachers, since like you said, early November. So to actually come home, quote unquote home, it was amazing. I mean, to actually have people cheering for you in the bleachers instead of against you, is a nice, welcoming feeling that we haven't had in a really long time, which I also thought brought energy to us. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to have a few more, but we're gonna take this one on Wednesday here and run with it, before we have to get back on that bus.
Certainly helps going 20 minutes away instead of 2 hours,
Yes,
3 hours, whatever the case may be.
for sure.
Now, looking ahead to Wednesday, Notre Dame is off to its best start since joining the NCAA.
Mhm.
They're currently tied for the lead in the MEC and have one of the best well-rounded players in the conference.
Mhm.
What impresses you about them, and what will be the key to pull it off?
Yeah, I think they bring a little bit a different vibe than the other teams at the top of the MEC. And honestly, I think that we match up against them the best of some of the others towards the top. But yeah, they're a really impressive group. I think they've got some really fundamental players, and I think they make good decisions with the ball. But again, it's about us and us playing well. If we can play well for 4 quarters and we don't have a quarter where we kind of fall apart, I think we can hang with most people. So that's something that we've just got to continue to work on. We've had good practices. We've got to continue to have good practices. And as long as we do that, I think that we can remain pretty competitive with them. And so that's what we're looking for.
What's the vibe that is different from other MEC teams that you speak of?
Well, the vibe of Charleston and Glenville is just to kind of get up and down and score, 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 and not that they don't do that. Um, you know, Glenville throws 5 in and 5 out. They're constantly subbing, and so it's that part of it is just a little different bit of a vibe. Um, and I think that they play a little bit more of a fundamental X's and O's games versus Glenville, and they're kind of just run and gun. So I think that's why we fit or we match up a little bit better against a team like that.
Anything else you want to add?
Now, just excited to get this second half of the year going and hopefully reach our goal.
All right, Coach. Thank you for your time and Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too.